All right, welcome everyone. I will call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for March 7th, 2024. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. And Commissioner Johnston, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, calendar session. I think we've got AOC meetings on March 11th. Do we have that on our calendar? Okay. And then is it not this weekend, next weekend, the Gospel Rescue Mission dinner on the 16th. I think we're all going to that. Or
I'm
no?
not.
Okay.
I will miss it.
And then I don't know if you received the invitation, but there's a Lafayette Awards ceremony earlier that day at 3 o'clock. It's the If I Were a Mayor contest. It's the awards ceremony for If I Were a Mayor. So I can send some details over, but yeah, that one's off on that day too. Is there something else that night? Oh, See You Later Foundation's dinner is that night too. It's a busy day.
Not on my calendar anyway.
Okay.
I did ask Caroline to ask to add the city some information about it. The Panther Creek,
Oh, right.
meeting tonight.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm going to go in person.
I think it's virtual too, right? Okay. Anything else for the calendar? Okay, item D is public comment. This time period is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, a quasi judicial land use matter, or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. I want to acknowledge written comment that was received. It looks like it was for the last week's meeting, or maybe the one before, but so we acknowledge that. And then if anyone is here to provide general public comment, please come forward. And if you are online, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, seeing and hearing none, I will move on to department updates. And today we are joined by our planning director, Ken Friday. Welcome, Ken.
Welcome.
How's the new digs?
Really good. Really good. Yeah.
I've showed and told that so many times already.
Don't rub it in.
Cool.
Since this is my first update of 2024, I thought it might be good to look back at the previous year. I actually went into 2023 really looking forward to it. I thought it'd be a great year of getting back to normal. And that lasted just until January 12th. And actually, one of my staff has shadow boxed our calendar from January 12th, 2023. It's up somewhere in our front office. That was the day we had to move out and divide up amongst 4 buildings. And while that was difficult, I appreciated all the help that we received. And I just wanted to have a moment to say thank you to a number of people. Thanks to Ken and Justin for finding us accommodations very quickly. Thanks to the folks that took us in, Carrie Hinton, our county clerk, the board's office and accounting office. Thanks to Shane and his team for quickly providing us with new computer and internet connections. Thanks to Joe and his team for a variety of assistance. And a special thanks to Carolina, who adjusted her office for our customers and made our entire staff feel welcome. And lastly, I just really appreciate the folks that work in the planning department and especially the advice I received from Alicia and Tim. They provided advice and encouragement when I really needed it. And I really appreciated how everyone kind of rolled with the challenges and tried to help figure out what we were going to do. We are now, of course, in a wonderful building and it's working out quite well. The new office situation has been universally praised by our staff, and I've noted that overall the morale has improved. I'm hoping that the results of this will be to provide, better and quicker customer service, as I fear those have suffered from our previous scattered situation. I also don't want to fail to mention that our next challenge will be relocating the surveyor's office when that building becomes available. The other big unexpected stress from last year was the threat to our code enforcement officer. And unfortunately, this week is kind of having to relive that stress. And I won't talk too much about it, but I'm hopeful that's going to be resolved soon. While 2023 was a difficult year, it was also productive. Looking back, our office processed 327 land use planning applications, issued 4,368 building permit and electrical permits, and issued 262 septic permits. And the state estimated value for construction, which is based primarily on square footage, was just over 181 million that has been added value to the county. As for significant land use issues, and also somewhat related to construction, last year we did see what I thought was going to be an increase of accessory dwelling units, and we're on pace to increase that again this year. It's kind of interesting, the requirement for us to send notice out has kind of become an advertisement of sorts, because neighbors will get notice that their neighbor's building one, and they'll go, I didn't know I could do this. And
Yeah.
and then kind of give us a call and kind of kick the tires about maybe doing that themselves. One slight surprise I've had is that last year, after changing our code, we didn't really see much in the way of activity around psilocybin. We've had a handful of applications for grow operations, but no applications for service centers. And I think lastly, I was going to talk about the Newburgh Urban Reserve remand, but I thought maybe it'd be better to do that when the board discusses Newburgh's request for the sequential UGB process, because we do have the Newburgh's new planning director here, Scott Siegel, and I only know him by reputation, but it's a good reputation. So I think that's all I have for right now.
So Ken, on the rural residential ADUs, have you kind of broken those out? Has that increased, or well, not increased, but have we seen a large number of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think in 2022, we had 2 applications, and that was back when you could only put an accessory dwelling unit in the urban growth boundary. And
Yeah.
I think there were, I can't remember if it was 12 or 14. And this year we've already had 6. So I'm
Nice.
expecting that we'll have quite a few more. And again, I do think it's kind of a weird advertising that kind of ripples out there, that folks just weren't aware of it, and now they're going to become more aware of it.
Right.
Ken, are you seeing that those who might have applied for hardship dwelling are also looking at the
Yes.
ADU option?
Yeah. Yeah. And we have had actually, I think, one that requested and one that's gone through with modifying their hardship dwelling to an ADU so they can keep it there.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're in a better place.
Yes.
Where you guys are. And I'm continuing to feed the squirrel. And I just want to point out that Ken Friday really showed who he was, because he was leaving extra peanuts for the squirrel because it was going to be a long weekend and he was going to be gone on President's Day or whatever day. And I think that is the true measure of a kind heart.
Oh, thank you.
So,
One
have
question before you go.
couple of
So what's the customer sentiment as they come in when,
Yeah, that was my
as soon
question.
as you moved?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I can't think of anyone that has complained. I should have asked Alicia because she's more in tune with that, sitting up front, but it's been very good. I think the only thing we'll probably need to do in the future is maybe put an automatic door on the front doors, because we do have one of the septic installers that actually needs assistance. So,
Oh,
but that's the only thing I can think of that we might need to change. But overall, I haven't heard any negative comments about the facility,
Okay.
and only positive ones.
okay. Cool.
Yeah, that was my question. And just to thank the public for being patient too, because I know they were running around in circles trying to find all the different
Yeah.
spots.
Places.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Ken.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, looks like our work session is next and we have nothing today. Item G is the consent agenda. There is a personnel item. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes. Thank you. Item H is old business. There's nothing today. Item I, other business. I1 is consideration of approval of an intent to award construction to Roy Hoke, is it Hoke? Construction LLC for the 2024 Albertson Road pavement repairs project in the amount of $130,292. You may know more about this, but I liked seeing the fact that there was 10 bidders, but there was quite the range from high to low.
Yeah.
Was that discussed?
It was, Greg's all over it. He's fairly aware of the intention of the low bidder, but they're aware and they still feel comfortable with the lowest bid, even though they think it might come in a little bit more. It's still going to be the best deal.
Because it was a significant difference
Yeah.
between the high and
It
low.
is. So they're banking, the contractor's banking on having to do more of the like alligator pothole repair type stuff on the road and thinking that they're going to make more, but they've assessed the road and they don't believe it's as much as the contractor's banking on. And I'm not saying that to disparage the contractor. It's just Greg is on top of it and he's fully well aware of how they bid this project. And Greg believes they'll actually, even though it'll be a little bit more, it's still going to be under what all the other contractors truly believe it would be.
Okay.
That's the best in a half an hour meeting that I could pick up and gather from it. So.
And if there's questions, Greg is.
Oh, great. There you go. Yeah. Greg would be able to explain that way better than me.
Okay. Welcome, Greg. Can you hear us okay? Are you there, Greg? There we
There
go.
it is.
Okay, I'm here.
Hi. So we just had a couple questions about the, pretty significant range between high and low on the bids and if there's any concerns around that.
Yeah, like Commissioner pointed out that I believe how construction is banking on, there will be a lot more over excavation. However, we've got a very competent geotechnical engineer on board, which will be monitoring the work during construction, guiding the amount of over excavation that's going to happen. And we did this similar project on the upper half of the road last year, and we had a very similar bid where the contractor was estimating that there was going to be a lot of over-ex, and there really wasn't. And this is what Commissioner was alluding to. So we feel like we've got a really good handle on things. They, like I said, took a risk that there's going to be a lot more over-ex. They put a lot more money on that bid item. However, we feel pretty confident that that's not going to happen, and we're going to get the benefit of them taking that risk.
Okay. Does that cover your
Yeah.
question?
Thank you, Greg.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
You're
Greg.
welcome.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
No.
Done.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes. Thank you. Item I2, consideration to authorize the planning director to sign a written notice of election to use the sequential UGB review process found under ORS 197.6263 and OAR 660-025-0185 for the city of Newburgh. And as Director Friday stated, we have Scott Siegel here from the city of Newburgh to answer any questions. This is similar to the process and decision we made for the city of McMinnville. And did you guys have a presentation to make, or were you just here for questions? Okay. Okay. I do have a question about that. If you want to come forward now would be a great time. We can throw that into this. And if you could just state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Scott Siegel, Community Development Director with the City of Newburgh, 414 East First Street in Newburgh. Good morning, Chair
Morning.
Burschauer, Commissioner Starrett and Johnson. It's very nice to meet you this morning.
Morning.
I wanted to extend my appreciation to Director Friday and also some empathy, having our city having gone through an emergency resulting from the ice storm and our development services staff having to relocate and other facilities. And I appreciate how much work that is, and we're happy to help out in any way that we can with your situation here. And I'm very proud of our staff. I'm new to the city, but in the first week with the city, they stood up a new office at our wastewater treatment plant, receiving customers, and we're fully operational. So I just wanted to put in that plug for the city of Newburgh. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the Urban Reserve remand, as well as our request for your approval to direct the planning director to initiate this sequential urban growth boundary analysis.
So the sequential review process is the same as it was in the city of McMinnville in terms of looking at industrial lands and potential zoning for light manufacturing. That's sort of one of the goals. The
That's
other goal
correct. The
is
scope
housing.
is very similar in
Okay.
the process as well.
Okay. Are there any questions on that specifically? I know we had quite a lengthy discussion about that for the city of McMinnville with Heather Richards and other people coming forward.
No, the chair, the question I had, and I spoke to Director Friday about this, is in terms of the remand, has that going to have any impact? And Director Friday mentioned that this was actually beneficial to that process. So maybe he can mention that, or you probably are aware of it. I know I was concerned when Director Friday said during this that we would likely see a remand. So I was not in favor of it, but I think in terms of the sequential process, that's going to streamline things. And I don't know if you've got anything to add to that. I know Director Friday explained it to me.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. It's a great question. So we believe that the process that's afforded by the state for us to go through a sequential analysis and really do our due diligence as we move through this and be able to meet the criteria that the state lays out. I think it will provide clarity around sort of prioritization of lands that can be brought inside the urban growth boundary, as well as adding on to Newburgh's urban reserve area. So we see this process as potentially beneficial for answering those questions that DLCD had about the urban reserve designation. So really the steps that we need to go through to justify any urban growth boundary expansion are really the same steps that we would need to go through to support an urban reserve designation. And we feel that that'll help answer that question.
So, and I don't know whether Director Friday, if you wanted to add anything in terms of the answer is probably no, but in terms of the counties, going forward with the counties part in this process.
Yeah, I agree that I think it'll be beneficial, and I don't think it'll hurt, at least. But I think they really just need to adopt the housing needs analysis and the economic opportunities analysis, and the sequential process will be a little bit more forgiving about when those are adopted, and then it'll kind of keep that date, if you will, of when it was adopted, and you wouldn't have to re-adopt it if it took longer for you to do other steps in the process.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So with regard to the remand, is the county in more of a responsive position? We're waiting for Newburgh to roll out some steps and responses to this, and then we react.
Well, we're meeting with the applicants next week to try to understand what their thought process is on this, and if there's any way that we can help support them. My recommendation, and I've expressed this to our city manager, is that we go through the sequential UGB analysis, and I think that'll help build, well, one, adopting the studies that were previously only approved by resolution. The city must adopt those by ordinance. That was one of the conclusions that DLCD came to, and going through the alternatives analysis, that'll help, I think, support any proposal to expand the UGB and the urban reserve. So we do need to go through that process in order to respond to the remand. And so I think the county will continue to communicate on this. And as we go through the sequential review, we would like to have check-ins, of course, with the city council, also with your board, if that's your pleasure, so that you know where we're at each step along the way.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so I will move to authorize the planning director to sign a written notice of election for the city of Newburgh to use the sequential UGB review process. Is there further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And welcome to town.
Thank you so much.
Okay, looks like that's it for other business. Item J is public hearings. There's nothing today. I have a quick announcement. We had the Yamhill County Forest Land meeting, Forest Land Classification Committee meeting this week. There's no changes to the map, the taxing map. However, this discussion has been, as you know, we've talked about it in AOC, but the discussion around how to charge for and manage wildfires in the state of Oregon has been ongoing. There was talk at one point of a statewide property tax that would apply to every household, every tax lot, to try and pay for that. I think it was $10 per tax lot. And an increase in timber harvest tax to the tune of, I believe, almost 20% in increase in the harvest tax. So there's been some ideas tossed around on how to pay for the growing cost of wildfires in the state. The governor supports House Bill 4133A. That's one bill that we have talked about through AOC. But what that does essentially is puts a pause on ODF's classification efforts. So the committee essentially didn't do anything this week. We just simply talked about the fact that there's no change to our map. And essentially the governor is saying, we're going to push pause on these committees. Don't make any changes. Don't vote on anything, just status quo until we can take this, this issue up in the 2025 legislative session. So a bit frustrating. We put a lot of work into that, and they put a lot of work into that. And so did the folks on our committee, our citizen members of the committee. But in the end, there was no change to the map. So I think that's probably the best course at this point. And we are going to continue to meet, even though the governor has pushed pause on this effort. And people will continue to be taxed in the meantime. So and that's all I have for announcements. Anything further?
Monday at AOC, the Joint Steering Committee of Public Safety and HHS is going to be meeting to get an update on House Bill 4002, which is the Measure 110 reform bill. And Oregon State Police are going to be giving us an update on the medical examiner work group, which has been a concern. Did have our ASA meeting with the fire departments around the county and talked about the updating ASA plan, which is still in the works. Discussions around response times and best practices. Also, there were the smaller jurisdictions are having a difficult time recruiting paramedics, and paramedics are important for the at least to have one on an emergency response rig. So we talked about that, and we'll continue to work on that. The other Board of Health meeting, some concerning statistics regarding the increase in syphilis in the county, which is pretty much a statewide issue. It used to be 4.7 cases per 100,000. Last 2 years ago, in 2022, the last numbers that we have, it was 56 per 100,000. 5 congenital syphilis, meaning 5 babies born with syphilis, and the ramifications are significant, lifelong for a child born with syphilis. So there was that concern, appreciated that update. Also, some good news, the home visiting, home nurses visiting expansion is going forward, where all families, regardless of their insurance status, will have the opportunity to have somebody, a nurse, visit them and to just work on some of the issues that they might have with a new baby. The Board of Health did ask me to convey to the board that they were not in agreement with our vaccination policy rewrite. And I thought I would bring that information to the board. I appreciated their input as an advisory group. I explained the difference between an advisory group and the local public health authority policymaking decision. But I do want to recognize the work that all of our advisory groups do and appreciate the citizen input. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Short meeting today. All right. I will go ahead and adjourn the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners formal session for March 7th, 2024.